So that, I mean, you know, arms control from that point of view, I mean, from the point of view of saving money at any rate, arms control is not a good thing. It's only a good thing, really. I mean, you know, when I say it's not a good thing, I mean it's simply it's not a thing which is effective. It's only really effective in preventing things like pollution of the atmosphere by nuclear explosions, which is important, of course. And but it's not really effective actually in controlling arms. I mean, you know, there are several sort of areas where you might have worries. You might be afraid of being blackmailed, purely and simply. This tends to be called Finlandization. I mean, supposing that you had no American troops, you had no alliances. Well, when the Soviet ambassador turns up and says, you know, we hear that Mr. Solzhenitsyn has been making rather unpleasant remarks over your radio or something, you know, and where the Soviet Union takes a serious view of that. At this point, you might get, you know, governments giving in. That's one sort of area, that's one kind of hypothesis. The other hypothesis, which used to be, sort of another thing which used to be worried about, was whether the Soviet Union might not simply, when some general international question were in dispute, simply seize something like, shall we say, the port of Lübeck in Germany and hang on to it, or this Danish island of Bornholm, and hang on to it as a sort of pledge of, you know, which as sort of kind of blackmailing step, really. The third thing, I think, which is of some interest, is this, that I don't think that the situation in Eastern Europe is by any means stable. I mean, I think that the Russian regime itself, I would have thought in the next 20 years, we might see some very surprising changes. I don't, you know, one can't say that one will. But there is certainly a possibility that you might get an evolution in Russia which would cause upheaval in Eastern Europe of one kind or another. At this point, you know, almost anything might happen because the upheaval might go so far that the Russians would think they'd have to react and so on and so forth. And there would therefore be a danger of sort of instability in the middle of Europe, in Central Europe, of which, you know, one reply to certainly is having united action among the members of the North Atlantic Alliance. It is probably much better having them united and discussing what to do in such contingencies than having them sort of disunited. And after all, I mean, you know, anything that happens in Eastern Germany, Western Germany will be pretty well bound to be deeply involved emotionally. I mean, you know, the question of German unity is quiescent at the minute. I can't believe that it would be quiescent if it looked as though Eastern Germany were politically, you know, having a sort of political crisis.
I think we should have perhaps one more question, and maybe we should have the person in the back raise that question, and then after that, if there are some of you who didn't get a chance to pursue something, you might want to talk with Mr. Hartley about it afterward. But let's have one more formal question.
I was wondering how the people of Western Europe view America. They view it as a friend or as a necessity?
A friend or as a necessity?
They feel close ties to America, or just, you know, as a necessity for their freedom.
Well, I might, well, you know, I mean, you know, I might answer that by saying that friends are a necessity in some degree. That's a matter of human experience. But I think, no, I mean, I think, you know, there is genuine admiration for the United States among, you know, most West Europeans, I would say. I mean, obviously, you know, if people are ideologically committed in some other direction, they don't, you know. In that case, they regard you as the great capitalist monster and so on. But I mean, that's another matter. But it's, no, I mean, I would think that most West Europeans very much admire American achievements, American democracy, and so on. I mean, and I mean, after all, the United States has had an enormous, I mean, you know, not merely by its power, but also to some degree by what, you know, we could broadly call its cultural influence. Has had an enormous influence in Western Europe over the past 30 years. And, I mean, it's not for nothing that, you know, all West European students wear jeans. And that, I mean, you know, know, it is, I think, admired. I mean, you know, it's also criticised, obviously, but all countries are.
On that cultural note, which reminds me of the ads on American television where there are three men, one of whom says that his jeans are made in England, another one who's made in France, and a third one who's made in Italy, and which is the best, and it turns out that all of these apparently are made in the United States. But in any event, let me thank all of you for coming, and thank Mr. Hartley for being with us. We're very appreciative that he was able to stop off during this tour that he's making of the U.S., which has him hopping around the country to a number of different locations, speaking to a variety of groups, and we're happy that he was able to be here with us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.